Yes.
Okay. I don't know, happy Sabbath or happy Vespers? It's not quite Sabbath yet. Let's open with a prayer first of all. Let's open with a silent prayer, if we will. Amen. Okay, so I think we've got an hour for Vespers this evening, and I was asked to just start out by maybe briefly going over how to take one of particularly Elder Tess's presentations and how to make it your own. So I know many of us are quite used to just reading transcripts, but also I think most of us have been asked to present as well, Sabbaths and prayer meetings, at least on Sabbaths anyway. So I think everyone now is required or has been asked to present. So I was just asked to run through the way that I do it anyway, for what that's worth. If you haven't received that email about with your slot of when to speak, I think maybe you would contact Pam, or at least check your spam folder for that, because some of our emails go straight into people's spam folder, they've said. Okay. So we've been asked to present, let me put it this way, when we got to the formalization at the end of August 2021, Elder Tess asked everyone to go back over the increase of knowledge, because she thought that people didn't really understand the increase of knowledge enough to grasp the formalization, and that would be necessary. So the increase of knowledge was from May 2020, and it started with the Apis bull. And I think if you count, there's around about 100 videos until you get to July 2021. So we've been asked to go back over those and then present one of them. We don't do summaries, so if you've got one presentation, it might be a good idea just to take one video and present it. So the first thing I'll do, obviously, is to go through her video and writing out all the points in sentences, fairly full sentences. I'll just say longhand. So write out in longhand as opposed to shorthand. And then also, as you go through the video, about every 15 minutes or so, 10 or 15 minutes, I'll write down the timestamp into my notes. And the reason I do that is so that it's easy to go, if you're reading through your notes in the future and you're confused about something, or you want to relook at something, you don't have to spend a long time finding that clip. You can narrow it down to the nearest 10 minutes. So include timestamps in your notes. I should probably pull up the chat. Feel free to say any chat open if you want to ask anything, or you can interrupt. You can just unmute your mic and make a point if you like. There's something else that I'm quite strict about with myself, and that is I don't try to add to Elder Tess's research, or add in my own points, or add in my own research. So don't add to the video. Depending on how confident you already are at this, depending on how good you already are at this, especially if the material is new to you, for example, as you go through Elder Tess's video, I'm saying don't do it in brief notes. So make the points sentences, but not exactly a transcript. Do you know what I mean?
Yeah. Yes.
I'll show you where I'm going. I'm gonna try to, as the weeks go by and you're practicing and you're getting more and more used to the material and you're learning the message, I tend to then start reducing the wording down to bullet points. That's eventually where you want to be. Yeah. But so, does that make sense then?
Yes.
Okay.
Thank you.
Okay. So I don't add any research to it. I don't try to make up any of my own points or anything like that. Basically, as I said, just in the increase of knowledge alone, there's about 100 videos. So if you find that you've got so much time on your hand that you can go off and research something that hasn't been presented, then I personally would prefer to spend that time just studying the next video. Elder Tess has done hundreds of hours, especially since the beginning of her ministry. And I would prefer to spend time listening to the third messenger rather than going off and trying to read my own news articles. I think there's enough on media broadcast, for example, that kind of thing. So I try to stick very closely to her material. And then the other thing is the quotes that she uses. So I would also do the same with the quotes. Just stick to the portions of the article which she is quoting from. I'd be a bit more strict on that than anything, because Elder Tess has already said that she doesn't really like sending out the source article, because people will read the whole thing and think that she's endorsing the entire article or the entire position, when actually she might have a 5-page article and she just likes one paragraph or one sentiment or something like that. So she just wants to quote that one thing. So there's another reason I wouldn't take other quotes, even from the same article. And then once you have that whole video written out with all your timestamps and quotes and everything, you just have to practice it over and over. So that will just be reading through your notes, and it might also be while you're doing something else. If you're a nervous enough speaker like I am, you'll be thinking about it a lot, especially as the time draws closer to your presentation. And so if you try to discipline your mind while you're doing whatever you're doing, gardening or whatever it is, to think about it, as you roll the concepts over, it becomes more and more familiar to you. So you really need to get to know the material. So practice over and over. And just keep reading your notes over and over. And then I think the next one is the most important one, because at the same time as you're just practicing and reading your notes, you're getting to know your notes. Knowing your notes, for me, is the most important thing. Okay, so once I've got to this kind of stage and I've written the notes, I will try and just put that video away and just keep, it's just me and the notes, in other words, because on the day, I'm particularly speaking to nervous speakers or new speakers, all you've got is your notes. You're standing in front of people, and even though we're all friends, it's just you and your notes, and you need to know the layout and the words, because I've done it before, especially a year ago when I was petrified of you all, and I would be there and I might just look at a paragraph or a word or a sentence, whatever, and just think, what does that mean? Or I might get halfway through and then realize that the next paragraph is in the wrong place, and I'll have to quickly switch it around and then go back and try not to forget to go back to the right place and all of that. So knowing your notes is really the most important thing, and practicing over and over is, of course, reading from your notes and getting to know them. And then that will, of course, automatically lead to the second most important thing, which is getting to know your subject. Okay, as you go through the material, you'll start to make connections which you didn't make the first time you went through it. So if you've gone through it 10 times, you'll start to see things and make connections and see the kind of maybe cause and effect or a pattern. I don't mean parables, but I just mean a pattern in the history or something like that, that you didn't connect before. And you start to get to really know all the names and the dates and that kind of thing. So long as you know your notes and you know your material, you know your subject, everything should be all right. And then as you keep doing that over and over again, even like 10 times or as much as you can, you'll get to know the material and your notes so well, hopefully, that you can start to reduce the wording. Okay, so you can start to reduce your notes to bullets. So you can reduce it to bullet points. And then in those bullet points, you can even just bold out keywords. And what the idea is that you know the material so well that you just need a word or two to prompt your memory to remind you what to say. So like almost a bit like subject headers or something like that. And what I'm trying to do by this stage is get away from just reading word from word. And this is really how it's now becoming your own. You're making it your own because you've read it so many times, you understand it in your own mind. And now at this stage, you can explain it in your own words rather than just reading word for word. Okay. And then, so you've practiced, you might have even, if you do morning worship, say with your family, you can ask them to present it, even 2 or 3 times. Present it to them so you get used to actually speaking in front of somebody. There's an important point. I have noticed that if you just sit on your own reading through them, you could do that maybe 5 or 10 times. But the day you actually stand up, even just in front of a family member and present it out loud, that's when you actually start to notice things like your notes are in the wrong order, you've made the points the wrong way around or something like that. There's something about standing up and presenting it which is different to just running through it over and over again in your own mind. So practice on someone. Okay, I might have lost my screen. So the other thing is, if you're going to feel under pressure on the day, you're going to be nervous the night before and all of that kind of thing, then it might be better to turn up a little bit of pressure during your practice time. So I'm going to say, make it a bit more scary, practice on someone a bit more scary. So I, of course, am very scary. You can always call me and you can make a little slot, even if we haven't done classes before, and feel free to just practice it on me. Even if you need to do that 3 or 4 times, you know, I'm sure I'll be available for that. And it's good for me, it's good for the person that you're practicing on, because they're hearing the message. And we all know how important repetition is in this message. So if you feel you need to practice on me or anyone 3 or 4 times, that's good for both of you. You can even record it. For some reason, as soon as I hit record, I get more nervous. So even if you're practicing in front of me and you've done it once or twice, then maybe the 3rd time we can record it and you see if it makes a difference to you. Any thoughts? Anyone else have any thoughts so far?
Can I say something?
Please.
Can I ask everybody if, you know, whoever can give us the subject or the title of the presentation 1 week before. So even us, that are gonna be there, we know what it's all about, so we can be prepared when to discuss the subject, if it's possible. I don't know.
Okay. I guess let me jot that down as a note so that can be discussed and talked through.
That are going to be there, we can be prepared when
I guess that would require a lot of coordination between all the different speakers and everything, but I've jotted that idea down, so thanks for that. Then really the only other thing is on the day, if you do make a mistake or, like you lose your place, just don't worry. Like, we're all human. Just take it as if you would in a conversation and just say, oh, sorry, I messed that bit up, or I've lost my place. So I'm very sorry, I've got to go back, a couple of paragraphs and repeat it, and just deal with it perfectly normally. Because if you start to get very panicky and even more nervous, it will just get worse. So just deal with it like a normal conversation, as if you've said something wrong in a conversation, just between friends, that kind of thing. In the same way, if you can't answer a question, if you get a question and just say, I don't know, it's really no big deal. Okay, and then really the only other thing is you have to be a little bit aware of the time. I've noticed time isn't so much of a problem, because if you finish a bit early, then it just means questions and people's opinions can go on a bit longer. But keep an eye on the time to make sure you're not running out of time, because I think it's quite important not to go over time. So just glance at the clock. I should probably write that down. So really, that's all I have. It's not exactly rocket science, but if you like, yeah, I'm here if you need to practice with me, or if you even need help writing notes in the first place, or choosing a video or anything like that, then that's what I'm here for, I guess.